Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and yeah, I just wanted to come in here and share some thoughts. I know you guys are probably wondering where the September and October vlogs are, but yeah, I've just been, I guess, super busy with a lot of good things happening. Yeah, and I just had no time to edit, and yeah, I don't know, God's just been teaching me a lot, and I just kind of wanted to come on here and share some of those things, but don't worry, those vlogs are coming. I'm gonna edit them soon. Eventually they'll come out, but yeah, a couple weeks ago I was listening to a Tim Keller sermon, and he was just going through a Psalms, and near the end of it he talked about loneliness. And yeah, God just really spoke to me about something I guess he was teaching me a while ago, a couple months ago, and it just kind of came up again, and I just wanted to share some thoughts on loneliness. I planned a worship night with a couple of friends, just a small one, at one of my friends' house a couple weeks ago, and was kind of sharing these things about loneliness, and it was really encouraging for some people. And so yeah, I just felt like God had put it on my heart to share these things with someone on here. I was at Galiano Island last weekend, and I was just praying and asking God to reveal what he wanted me to share more. And I think, yeah, just these things on loneliness came up, and so I really hope, and I'm praying that, yeah, that God would send this to someone who needs to hear it. Because I think as individuals, we all struggle with loneliness to some capacity, whether it's at one point in our lives, or maybe it's a season of our lives where we feel like no one cares about our struggles, where we feel like there's things going on in our lives where people don't understand. Yeah, or we just feel a disconnect from people around us. Maybe we feel like there are people in our lives, but it's just really hard to connect with them. Yeah, I know for me personally, there's been seasons where things have happened in my life where I feel like I couldn't share, and I guess I couldn't really share what was going on. And so it was just a lot of loneliness, of just going through that and not being able to share struggles that I was going through, because I guess in some ways it wasn't mine to share. But I think even in that, the loneliness can drown you out, and you can be surrounded by friends and family and people all around you, and you can still feel lonely. I think some of the loneliness points of my life have been surrounded by people, by friends. And it's just something that, yeah, we go through in our lives. And I think sometimes we think that the solution is just to surround ourselves with even more friends or more family or more people. And so sometimes we try to drown out the loneliness with friends, family, maybe a boyfriend or girlfriend, hangouts. But yeah, the reality is maybe these things do drown out the loneliness for a day or season. But the truth is that loneliness always comes creeping back in, whether after a short while or a long season. It always finds its way back into our lives. And I think for me, this loneliness has found its way into my life, especially last year, where I think there were seasons where, yeah, I would feel lonely even surrounded by a lot of people. And I think as Christians, the cliche is that, Jesus is always with me. And we know that. We know that he is enough. But I think sometimes our lives and our thoughts and our actions don't reflect that we actually know that. And I think sometimes as Christians, we value communion with other people as more valuable than with Jesus. And so we spend all our time surrounded by other people. And we'd rather drown out the loneliness by hanging out with friends than sitting in silence with Jesus and letting him speak to us in those moments. And I don't know about you guys, but I know for me sometimes I fight so hard to never feel lonely. But I think there's beauty and there's wisdom in us just sitting in our loneliness and confronting that feeling instead of always trying to run away from it. Because I think sometimes that loneliness can reveal something about our hearts. And yeah, I've seen how people try to constantly surround themselves with other people, and it never works. It's never sustainable. Or maybe you feel like you're on the other side of that, where you feel like in your loneliness, there's just no one there. Like there's no one to drown that out, that there's just no one to connect with, and no one to talk to in a deep and meaningful way. And so I just want to share a story with you of something that, yeah, I read a couple months ago, and it came up again in the Tim Keller sermon, but this is, a passage in Matthew 27, when Jesus is on the cross, and this is what Jesus said: "Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, that is, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And yeah, I remember I was reading this story one day on campus, and it just hit me because Like the crucifixion, Jesus on the cross was like the lowest moment of his life. Like he would never go through anything harder than that. Not only bearing the physical pain and torture that he went through, but also dealing with the spiritual weight of all the sin of all past, present, and future people. And in his lowest moment, he says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And on the cross, Jesus not only felt alone, but he was actually alone. He was abandoned. All of his friends had fled him. His family had left, and he was alone on that cross, going through that all by himself. And even God had turned his face from him in his lowest moment. And so it's just mind-blowing to me how Jesus was able to go through that. I guess I share this story, and you're probably wondering, like, how is this encouraging? How does this relate to our feelings of loneliness? But I think one thing I learned from the sermon that Tim Keller preached on was that Jesus was actually alone so that we'd only feel alone. Because the truth is, even in our loneliness, we aren't actually alone. That because of what Jesus did on the cross, he made a way for us to be with God again, that we don't actually have to be alone in our sin because of the cross. That we may feel lonely, but we aren't actually alone. And I think it's encouraging to know, because I think when we go through feelings of loneliness and we go through seasons where we feel lonely, we can look to the cross and we can look to what Jesus says here, and we can see that he understands how we feel, that he felt it so deeply of being alone, that we can draw near to him and trust that he understands what it feels like to be abandoned by his Father, by his friends, by people that were closest to him at his lowest moment, when he needed them the most, when he needed comfort and when he needed someone to talk to, someone to be there for him. He was in complete darkness. He was completely abandoned. He was completely alone. And I think when you really understand this and really dwell on what he went through on the cross, like, it just hits us of how much he loves us and how much he went through for us. That he went to the cross and he was actually alone because he loves us so much, and so that we would never actually feel the weight of our sin and feel alone. And so, yeah, Jesus understands what it feels like, and so you can draw near to him and you can talk to him in your loneliness, because he cares and he wants you to draw near to him in that. And I know this is a very real struggle, and I don't want to come on here and say, like, feelings of loneliness aren't valid and they aren't true, because, yeah, they are true and they are something that we all face in different seasons of life. But, yeah, I just want to encourage you, whatever season you're in, or if you find yourself in a season of loneliness, that instead of running to other people or to situations or to things in this world that you think will cure your loneliness, turn to Jesus. Name how you're feeling, and just let it be a little glimpse of what Jesus felt on the cross for you. Let it allow you to see what he went through for you on the cross. How he felt at his lowest, when no one understood the physical and emotional turmoil that he faced. And in that, draw near to him. Thank him for the cross, and surrender your loneliness to him, and just pray and thank him that he was actually alone on the cross, so that you'd only ever feel what it was like to be alone. Jesus is a friend who is there and who understands, and so you can talk to him. You can pour out your heart to him. You can let him know how you're feeling, because he cares. And I think it's in these moments where we're feeling alone and where we go through these things that we truly get to experience how Jesus felt, but we also get to draw near to him. And there's a closeness in that relationship where we'll never experience unless we go through something like that. And it's those moments that really strengthen our faith and allow us to draw near to him and see him work in our lives in amazing ways. And so, yeah, maybe you don't struggle with loneliness. Maybe, you are close with the Lord and you are thankful for people in your lives that you can talk to. And if that's you, I just encourage you to share that with others. Like, share the hope of Christ. Share what Jesus did on the cross, because there's probably someone in your life that is struggling with loneliness. And, we as Christians, we have a hope that goes beyond this life, and we have the hope of Jesus. But there's a lot of people out there that don't, because they need a relationship with the fountain of living waters, who can give them water that will allow them to never thirst again. Because the reality is, the things that we pursue in this world will leave us thirsty. But when we truly pursue and love Jesus and lay down our lives at his feet, like, he is all sufficient. He's enough. And so I just want to end off by reading from Gentle and Lowly. And it says, "Consider your own relational circle. Doubtless the line of who your friends are could be drawn in varying places, like concentric circles narrowing in to a bull's eye. There are some people in our lives whose name we know, but they really aren't on the periphery of our affections. Others are closer to the middle, but perhaps not intimate friends. Continuing to move toward the center, some of us are blessed to have a particularly close friend or two, someone who really knows us and gets us, someone for whom it is simply a mutual delight to be in each other's company. To many of us, God has given us a spouse as our closest earthly friend. Even walking through this brief thought experiment, of course, ignites pockets of mental pain. Some of us are forced to acknowledge that we do not have one true friend, someone we could go to with any problem, knowing that we will not be turned away. Who in our lives do we feel safe with? Really safe? Safe enough to open up about everything? Here is the promise of the gospel and the message of the whole Bible. In Jesus Christ, we are given a friend who will always enjoy rather than refuse our presence. There is a companion whose embrace of us does not strengthen or weaken depending on how clean or unclean, how attracting or revolting, how faithful or fickle we presently are. The friendliness of his heart for us subjectively is as fixed and stable as is the declaration of his justification of us objectively. Won't most of us admit that even with our best friends, we don't feel fully comfortable divulging everything about our lives? We like them and even love them and go on vacations with them and sing their praises to our others, but we don't really at our deepest level trust ourselves to them. But Jesus is a friend we can trust. Consider the depictions of the risen Christ in Revelation 3. There he says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, what will Christ do? I will come in and eat with him, and he with me." Jesus wants to come in to you, wretched, pitiable, poor, blind, naked you, and enjoy meals together, spend time with you, deepen the acquaintance with a good friend. You don't need to just constantly fill in the gaps of silence with words. You can just warmly be present together, quietly relishing each other's company. It would be cruel to suggest that human friendship is irrelevant once one has been befriended by Christ. God made us for fellowship, for union of heart with other people. Everyone gets lonely, including introverts. But Christ's heart for us means that he will be our never-failing friend, no matter what friends we do or do not enjoy on earth. He offers us a friendship that gets underneath the pain of our loneliness. While that pain does not go away, its sting is made fully bearable by the far deeper friendship of Jesus. He walks with us through every moment. He knows the pain of being betrayed by a friend, but he will never betray us. He will not even so much as coolly welcome us. That is not who he is. That is not his heart. And so at the heart of Jesus is that he's gentle and lowly, and you can draw near to him. And so whoever you are, wherever you are, just know that I am praying for you in this, and that, you can draw near to Jesus in this.